listening to the Ambassadors for Engagement. We are really thrilled that you've decided to be a part of this. This introductory video is just to share with you some of the work that we've been doing relating to student engagement. We want our kids to be excited about the work that they do. We want to make sure that they are working very hard. There's a lot of hands-on work. We want them to be able to create, innovate. We want them to problem solve, collaborate with one another, because those are skills that are needed in the 21st century. That's not the way school was set up originally, and so we're changing that. And what we're doing is we work with kids. We want them to do the work. We want them to be the ones at the end of the day that are tired and exhausted, but totally inspired by what they've done. They may not even know that they're learning, but they are a part of what they're doing. And you can see examples throughout our school district of when they're doing that. For me as superintendent, in order to get our students to have engagement in the classroom, we have to be able to engage our teachers. They have to buy into what we're doing. We have to provide an environment for them where they can collaborate with one another, and that they have a set of protocols or a set of steps that they follow as a team so that they know how to go about doing what we call design work. When we talk about design work, what we're talking about is really looking at who their students are in the classroom, what their interests, needs, wants are, and then trying to design an experience for them so that when the kids come through the experience, they've learned what they're supposed to learn, but they've learned it at a profound level. If you were like me, you went through a lot of college courses, a lot of high school courses and so forth, where you were a passive student. You just listened and listened and listened as the teacher droned on, and then by the time the test was over, it was pretty much all done. But we expect more for our kids, and frankly, they need more in the 21st century. They're competing against kids all over the world, and we want to arm them not only with the academic skills, which are critical, but also those soft skills that are so important, so they can go and work at Google or Apple or wherever it may be in the world. What you're going to see in here today, in that room right behind me, is teachers working on design work, and they'll work in collaborative teams, and they're bringing actual lessons that they have, and they're going through protocols with one another, and at the end of the day they're going to have a great lesson. So they're taking an old lesson and turning it into a new lesson, and they have to be accountable to one another. And what's cool, and if you watch this, is they love the work, they love the feedback, and it really impacts the kids.
So let's do an overview of the design cycle, right? Before we get rolling again, let's review what the design cycle is. So as a designer, you start with design, and your focus is the customer, right? The end user, right? You're designing, what do I have to design for the end user, using the design qualities and developing measures of achievement and engagement. So we go through that whole design process where it's all divergent. You're thinking of all kinds of things you could possibly do, knowing that you're not going to do all of them, right? Well, then once you get all of that done, you've really thought through with your customer in mind, with the who, with the students in mind, then we go through and you plan. This is actually logistics. What are you actually going to do? How long is it going to take? What materials do you need? Et cetera, et cetera. So then you plan it. Then you actually implement with the students. So that might be our goal for our workshop today is a 3-day unit. It might be a 5-day unit. Whatever it is you're designing, you implement it. And part of your design is also the implementation of a measure of engagement to see how engaging was it for the students, and also a measure of achievement. How much did they learn? Did they learn what you wanted them to learn? So you measure that. Well, then with that information, you come back and you analyze it. Just like Dr. Bashara was talking about, we're going to get our measures of achievement and engagement. We're going to analyze it, and then we will come here and redesign. We do this every year for this particular thing. You do the same thing for your units. You redesign it, and then the next time you have an opportunity to implement it, you plan it again, and you go through the same entire process. So that's why it is a cycle. Now, if you'll notice, spread throughout there are little stars for various points at which a collegial conversation is helpful. A coaching circle, right? There's various kinds of coaching circles you can do. You can do a coaching circle, you can do a protocol, but interspersed throughout is where collegial impact or input helps you. For our purposes, in this work, we will have a coaching conversation today. We're actually going to hover in this in this domain most of the time, but we'll have a coaching conversation there, and then we'll try to have 2 in our second day. That's a review of the design cycle.
We'll have each of the different teams to present their picture of success and their assessing achievement, and we will do each section separately. And we need to first listen to Isabel and what she's saying here, and then you can jot down questions or any notes, things that strike you as she's talking about these. So if you have questions of her, we're looking for clarity here and here. My role was to help guide the conversations and also to help ask the deeper questions that would get the designers of the different units to really think about what they're putting out as their product as far as the design goes, and to question themselves, am I really digging deeper into the learning, or do I need to change some wording, or am I really not, that's not really what I meant to do, so let me go back and redesign. I love when we get to that stage, because that shows that people are truly open to the process.
My picture of success, or what I feel it's supposed to look like, is the student will use more figurative language in conversations, writing, and storytelling, and they will acknowledge and value the use of figurative language in their personal life.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments as far as that is concerned? Her picture of success. Is it clear?
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, in the teams.
Just clarification on more, like using more than what they currently.
Yes, than what they currently have. A lot of my who in that class, their knowledge of figurative language is very, they're little.
Some of the things that are included in there to me don't fall under the category of figurative language. And then the other thing is that in the standard, it's can you read the thing in the standard? I'm feel really judgmental right now, I just have to say. But I'm trying to reconcile what the standard is saying that it's because evaluating how someone uses it to me is a little bit different than them themselves using it. Analyzing the effect that an author creates to me isn't the same thing as using it in my own. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe it's an issue with the standard. No, and it's hard for me. You do mind. It's hard for me because the high school standards are so close, but so far away at the same time, where they're almost the same. And so, could you read it again, just so I can hear it?
Yes. To explain how authors create meaning through stylistic elements and figurative language, emphasizing the use of personification, hyperbole, and refrains.
It's the creating meaning that I feel is lacking then from what they will do. So they're analyzing how authors create meaning through the use of these literary devices, where this is they're just using them. But then there's, to me, how am I adding to my meaning? Which I feel like is inherent in what you want them to do, but maybe not stated
What
in
they're
the...
supposed to do.
No, or not stated in what the student will do. Does that...
So are you suggesting that Isabel perhaps consider adding more words in here where it would say perhaps use more figurative language in making meaning in conversations?
Or understood that they understand that using this figurative language creates has an impact on their message. Or, you know what I'm saying? We don't just use figurative language just to throw in a simile.
Yes.
There's a purpose.
Yes.
And so I guess that's what it is, that we would insert these things, these devices, and we would understand why we use them.
I truly think that the coaching circle is extremely beneficial. It's so great as teachers to get collaboration from teachers that we don't ordinarily get to work with. We get the perspective of educators and colleagues in the junior school and in the high school, and so it's nice to get a different view. It's also great within the coaching circle that we've worked so hard on these content sentences, but just to get another idea and we tweak it, and that makes all the difference in the world sometimes. And even moving those verbs around or changing verbs out and moving things within your content sentence, it really does have a completely different feel and a completely different focus. So it's really great to go into that coaching circle and get that information from everyone and get their feedback, because it really makes what we're doing have a bigger impact and really come alive.
we just conducted coaching circles around the first part of the design process, which is content and substance, their content sentence, and measures of engagement and achievement. So prior to the circle that you just saw, the teachers worked for quite a while, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, on digging deep on some topic that they brought that was hard to teach, hard to learn, to really get to the meat of what exactly the students needed to learn as a result of their work that they're about to design. And so this coaching circle was designed to help them explain to peers and to get feedback from peers about ways to improve that clarity of focus.
As a parent, you know when your child's engaged. You know when they come home from school and they're talking about what they did in class. They're not telling you, gosh, I got this, 93 on this. They're telling you that they got to blow something up in science, or, the stories that they write. They get to talk about history, and they get to talk about personal stories and what they wrote about, maybe on an essay. And so when they're talking about that, you know that there's been an impact. But as a board member, what's been really powerful is getting to see all the work that the teachers are doing behind the scenes to make those lessons even more engaging, to break them apart, to analyze the pieces, to look at what it is that it might take to make what little change could they make in that lesson, so that maybe this one child isn't engaged, maybe the rest of the class has it, but they're willing to look at that lesson and say, what can I do to grab that one child that's still not getting it? That has been very powerful for me as a board member, to get to watch that, and it's actually been inspirational personally to get to see them, to get to see our teachers doing this work, and it's made me as a person say, wow, how am I living that? How am I doing that in my personal life?
The kids today are working on their learning centers, and their learning centers have a variety of activities that they'll be doing throughout the week. This checklist is something that they use throughout the week. It is their guide, it's their schedule, it tells them exactly what to do at each of the different center activities. We usually do about 2 or 3 center rotations per day, and so they'll have the opportunity to work at 3 different activities throughout the day. It is very independent work. Generally during this time, once they get started and moving, I'm able to meet with small groups to do either guided reading or math skills, work on math skills. In the center checklist, I try to include components of the Daily 5. So they're going to be doing some listening to reading, they're going to be doing actual reading themselves, they're going to be reading with partners, and so that's some of the activities here. One of the activities, they're listening to reading at the Reindeer Barn. And at the Reindeer Barn, it's a link that's on our class webpage, on their center links. And it's a variety of stories that they get to listen to about reindeer, just fiction stories. And then while one student is working on that, their partner is actually on the iPod Touch, and there are Christmas stories and holiday stories on the Touch that they get to listen to as well. Partner reading, they're actually reading about holidays and how different cultures celebrate their holidays and the traditions that they follow. And so they're doing that also at Brain Pop, which is right behind me, and they're learning about different holidays, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, just ways that other cultures celebrate during this time of the year. Okay, so what dates are you going to start for Kwanzaa? I don't have all the answers, and I love for them to discover the answers themselves. They have each other to rely on as well, and I think most learning occurs when you're with your peers. If you have a question, it's so much less threatening to ask a question of your peer than it is in front of the whole class, in front of everyone. So there's a lot of independence, but there's also that a safety zone for them. They feel comfortable in working it out with their partner. On the iPod Touch, there's an application where they write what they would like for Christmas, and I've actually had them work on developing kinds of sentences. We've worked the past few weeks on statements and commands and questions. So they're going to use that to write their letter to Santa, and then within a few hours they'll get a response back. So we're really excited about that. They're making a book of coupons as a gift for their families. And so we have a list of generated ideas of ways that they can help their family, and they'll use that to help them make coupons, which will be included in a card, which is another activity that they're doing. They're making a card for their family as well. And then I also have just some real basic skills included in the learning centers. A lot of practice on math skills through iExcel, and on the iPod Touch there are basic fact applications that they use, and one that is phonics. On the iPod Touch there are basic phonics skills, word work and word building skills, and then also I have a computer just for phonics work. If I think about the design quality from Schlechte, when I'm working on creating the learning centers for students, I'm thinking about I want to have some novelty and variety. The iPod Touch has several different applications that you can switch out from week to week, so there's always something new, which is engaging because they can't wait to see what the next application is going to be. Their knowledge of what they're going to be doing is organized in a chart. It's detailed. There's really no question about what exactly they're supposed to be doing because it goes step by step about so that knowledge is very clear and the expectations are very clear as well. I think what makes it most engaging though is choice. They have some choices involved with choosing who they're going to work with. They also have choice in choosing which activity they're going to do first. And then within the activity itself, they have some choice about what they're going to read or what they're going to write, and that keeps the students pretty engaged. Routine is important, and in a sense, this is a bit of a routine because it's a weekly thing that we do, but within it, you might want to mix things up a little bit. So I guess for parents at home, as far as like their child's activity, I think that they should, we do it in small increments of time. We don't spend a whole lot of time doing it. Ask your child, are you enjoying this activity? What do you like about it? If you wanted to change it, what would you change about it? And I try to include that between each rotation is ask the children, how did you like it? What were some things that didn't work? What can we avoid in the future? So they're helping me design it and create it so that it fits for them.
Phonics, it was like the spelling one, and pretty much Isaac was the one who got the highest one.
Awesome job. For engagement, it's just, are the kids focused on the work that you're giving them to do, and do they stay committed to that work? And during learning centers, kids generally stay committed. This is one of the quietest times during the day. Even though they're working with a partner, it's just unbelievably, amazing to me how quiet they get because they're so focused on getting their work done. They're enjoying it, and they stick to it. So, to me, that's engagement.
Okay, so you got to see the work that our teachers are doing. I hope that you found that helpful in really visualizing what they do. All of the design components that are there are design qualities, and I hope that you find it as meaningful as we do. So thank you for watching the video. Thanks for being a part of this, and I look forward to seeing you on November the 4th at 10:30 here at the high school in the Oaks building. Thank you.